I watched Eliza laugh at something on her phone, the way her eyes crinkled at the corners, and I felt a flicker of warmth. "You're impossible," I said, leaning against the kitchen counter. "Impossible?" she asked, tilting her head, that perfect smile in place. "I think you mean adorable." I laughed softly, but my stomach nodded. Something didn't sit right. She had been texting during dinner, her phone face down on the table like she was hiding something. I noticed it because I always noticed Jake plopped onto the sofa behind me, tossing a half-eaten slice of pizza into his mouth. "You guys are like extra today. Lovebirds or something?" "Eliza's just dramatic," I said, forcing a grin. She nudged me playfully. "Hey, don't make me blush in front of your friend." "That's unfair. Unfair." I echoed, watching the way she quickly flipped her phone screen away as if she had just been caught. "Nothing," she said. Too quickly, brushing past me toward the fridge, Claire, sitting across the room with her laptop, raised an eyebrow. "He's not imagining things." "You've been weirdly secretive lately," Eliza laughed, a sound meant to deflect suspicion, but it only made my gut twist tighter. "I've been busy," she said lightly. "Busy with what?" I asked, though my tone was careful. "Oh, work stuff. Texting clients, emails, adult responsibilities," she replied. Her words were casual, but her eyes flicked toward the door nervously. I swallowed, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Right," Jake grunted. "Man, you'd act like you're in some movie. Just admit you're hiding stuff, and it'll be fun." I laughed, masking the edge in my chest. "Yeah, okay, fun." After dinner, everyone drifted into their corners. Claire was still glued to her laptop. Jake had retreated into a video game, and Eliza was scrolling through her phone on the couch. I sat opposite her, tending to read a magazine, but really watching her every subtle movement. She seemed normal to anyone else charming. Composed, but I saw the micro-expressions. A flicker of worry in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. A slight tension in her jaw when her phone buzzed. "Eliza," I said finally, lowering my magazine, "you're acting off." "Are you okay?" She looked up, her smile immaculate. "I'm fine." "Why?" "You look worried." "Maybe I am," I admitted. "I don't know. I just feel like something's wrong, but I can't tell what." She leaned back, letting out a soft laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You're imagining things." "Seriously? Am I?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. But I couldn't ignore the tension coiling inside me. Maybe I just notice things." She reached over and touched my hand. "Notice good things. Not everything you see has a hidden meaning, okay?" I nodded, but the knot didn't loosen. She pulled her hand back and buried herself in her phone again. Later, Jake yelled from the living room, "Bro, you've got to see this video." Epic fail. I sighed, standing and stretching. "Coming." As I passed the hallway, I heard a voice. "Eliza's. No, you can't tell him yet. Not until it's the right time." I froze. The words were quiet, deliberate. "He can't know. Not now. Promise me you'll keep it secret." I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering. Who was she talking to? And what could be so important that she needed a secret kept from me? I waited, listening, but there was no reply, just the faint click of her phone locking. My chest tightened. I wanted to storm in, confront her, demand answers. But something told me to hold back. To observe, I returned to the living room, keeping my face neutral. Jake was laughing hysterically at some clumsy skateboard stunt. "Dude, come on!" "How did he even?" she said quietly, pressing a finger to my lips. "Something's off." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," I said, shrugging. "It's just a feeling. Like things aren't what they seem." Claire looked up from her laptop, her expression sharp. "I've been saying that too. Pay attention. There's something she's not telling you. She's my fiancé," I said softly, almost as a reminder to myself. "I want to trust her. I have to trust her." "But you don't," Claire said bluntly. "That's the problem. You're sensing it for a reason." I looked down at my hands. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was reading too much into small things. But deep down, I couldn't shake the unease. Later that evening, when the apartment was quiet, I heard her phone buzz again. She was in the bedroom, but the screen lit up brightly. My curiosity got the better of me. "You promised," I caught her whispering again, though I couldn't make out the recipient. "I can't tell him yet. Not until everything's ready." Something in me hardened. A little voice whispered, "This isn't right. This isn't the Eliza I thought I knew." I wanted to confront her immediately, but I forced myself to stay silent, letting the conversation play in my mind. I needed more. I needed to know the truth before I acted. I walked back into the living room, trying to shake the tension, but every laugh from Jake, every tap of Claire's keyboard, every soft creak in the apartment reminded me of what I had overheard. Something was happening, something I wasn't supposed to know yet, and it terrified me. I sat on the sofa, pretending to scroll through my phone. Eliza emerged from the bedroom moments later, her smile radiant, oblivious to the storm brewing in my mind. "Hey," she said, settling next to me. "Everything okay?" I smiled faintly, hiding the nod of fear and suspicion. "Yeah, just tired, I guess." She leaned on my shoulder. "Good, you trust me, right?" I nodded, heart pounding. Of course, her hand slipped into mine, and I felt the warmth of her touch. But it did little to calm the unease twisting inside me. I couldn't ignore it. Something was coming, something she was hiding, and I was the only one who knew. As I stared at her, laughing softly at some memory only she seemed to enjoy, I realized the first cracks in our perfect facade were showing. I was the only one who could see them, and whatever she was hiding, I had a feeling it was going to change everything. I couldn't shake the feeling from last night. Every time I saw Elisa laugh, my chest tightened, a tiny alarm bell ringing in my head. I wanted to ignore it. I wanted to believe I was imagining things, but something told me I wasn't. Jake waved me over as I entered the cafe. "Dude, you look like someone stole your sleep. Did Elisa keep you up all night texting again?" I forced a chuckle. "Something like that?" He raised an eyebrow. "Something like that? Come on, man, spill it." "You're hiding something." "Nothing," I muttered, sitting across from him. But I couldn't help glancing at the door every few seconds, half expecting to see her walk in. "You're not convincing me," Jake said. "You've been acting weird. Something's off, and it's not just your hair." "Maybe I just overthink," I replied, stirring my coffee. "Maybe I notice things others don't." Jake smirked. "Yeah, like how she's hiding her phone from you all the time." I tensed. "Maybe, see," he said, grinning. "You're not imagining it. Just admit it, man. She's got secrets." "I don't want to jump to conclusions," I said quietly, almost to myself. "But something feels wrong." Before Jake could reply, Sophie slid into the seat next to me, her bag slung over one shoulder. "Hey guys," she said, her eyes darting between us, like she already knew something. "You look tense." "I'm fine," I said, trying to sound casual. "Just tired." Sophie tilted her head. "Anghung." "Sure. You're hiding something, I can tell." "Spill it," I sighed. "I don't know if I'm overthinking, or I just feel like something's off with Eliza. She's been evasive." Secretive Sophie leaned closer. "Oh, now you've got my attention." "Evasive? How?" "Well, she keeps texting, but always hides her phone when I'm around. She's suddenly busy, disappearing for hours. And last night I overheard her saying something she told someone she couldn't let me know yet." Sophie's eyes widened. "Wait, what? That's serious, isn't it?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I feel like I've just seen the first crack in our whatever we have." Jake frowned. "First crack? Man, you make it sound like a soap opera." I didn't laugh. "It feels like one," I said quietly. "Like I'm in the middle of a story I can't control." Sophie frowned thoughtfully. "Do you think maybe there's someone else? Or maybe she's involved in something shady?" "Shady?" I repeated, my voice low. "What do you mean?" "Just stuff she doesn't tell you." "Stuff that matters," Sophie said. "I've noticed her acting a little different around Ryan." I froze. Ryan, the guy she always said, was just a friend from work. He had a calm, helpful demeanor, always showing up when she needed support. Nothing about him screamed danger, but Sophie's tone made my stomach drop. Different how? I asked cautiously. Just subtle? She laughs differently around him, texts him a lot. I don't want to read too much into it, but Sophie hesitated, glancing around the cafe like someone might overhear us. Just pay attention. There's something she's not telling you. I swallowed, the knot in my chest tightening. And you think Ryan is? Sophie shrugged. I don't know, but he's always there when you're not. And she trusts him. Way more than you'd notice at first. Jake leaned back, smirking, though I could see his unease. Man, I didn't want to say it, but Sophie might be right. You need to be careful. She's sneaky. Careful. I echoed, voice rising slightly. Careful how? She's my fiancé. And that's exactly why you need to pay attention, Sophie said firmly. People hide things from the ones they care about, pretend to care about. Just watch. Don't confront yet. Observe. I nodded slowly, letting her words sink in. Observe. Got it. But the panic under my skin refused to ease. After a few minutes of forced casual conversation, I excused myself, claiming I had to take a call. Outside, I pulled my jacket tighter and tried to calm my racing thoughts. Ryan, the hidden phone calls. Eliza's mysterious secrecy. I replayed her words in my head. He can't know. Not yet. Who is she hiding things from, and why? I checked my watch, debating whether to confront her now or wait for more information. My instincts screamed that confrontation would backfire. I needed facts, proof not just feelings. But my heart pounded with the need to act. Back inside, I spotted Eliza approaching, smiling effortlessly. Hey, she said, sliding into the seat next to me. You went outside? It's cold. I forced a smile. Yeah, just needed some air. She reached for my hand. Everything okay? I hesitated, torn between honesty and caution. I just feel like there's something I don't know. Something you're not telling me? Eliza laughed softly, brushing my worry aside with a casual flick of her hand. You're imagining things, love. There's nothing, really. I wish I could believe that, I muttered, my fingers tightening around hers. She leaned in, her voice soft. Trust me, okay? You always do. I wanted to trust her. I really did. But the feeling in my gut wouldn't let me. Later, at Jake's apartment, we were watching a movie when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Sophie. Call me now. I excused myself to the balcony, pressing the phone to my ear. Hey, what's up? There's something I didn't tell you, Sophie said, her voice low, urgent. I've noticed Eliza and Ryan meeting outside work hours. Secret places. I thought it was nothing, but now I think she's hiding something serious. Serious? My voice cracked slightly. Like what? I don't know. I can't say. But pay attention. She's not the Eliza you think she is. There's more to this story, and you might be the last to know. My stomach dropped. The last to know? Yes, Sophie whispered. And I think it's going to hurt. I ended the call, staring at the dark city below, the weight of realization settling over me. I had trusted her completely, and yet there were whispers in the shadows, secrets I wasn't meant to hear. The perfect facade I had believed in was already showing cracks, and I was standing at the edge, staring down at the unknown. When I returned inside, Jake was still laughing at the movie, oblivious. Eliza was nowhere to be seen, and I realized I was alone with my thoughts, my suspicions, and a growing dread I couldn't shake. Something was coming, something she was hiding, and I had no idea how deep it went. But I promised myself I'd find out, no matter what. I never thought I'd find it so easily. A small detail, her phone left unlocked on the kitchen counter while she stepped out for a call. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen, heart hammering. But curiosity gnawed at me. I had to know. Messages. Hundreds of them. All with Ryan. Casual words at first. Lunch tomorrow? Meeting rescheduled? But then it shifted. Secret locations, coded phrases, a web of plans she never mentioned to me. Every line felt like a knife twisting deeper. Jake barged in just as I was scrolling. Dude, you've been me at for hours. What are you doing? I jumped, closing the phone. Nothing. Just checking emails. He squinted at me. Unhung. Sure, emails. On her phone. I forced a laugh. Yeah, something like that. Jake raised an eyebrow but let it slide. Man, you look haunted. Is it her again? I pressed my palms to my face. I feel like I've been blind. Blind? He asked, settling next to me. Bro, this is serious. Spill it, she's hiding things. Big things. I saw the messages. Jake's eyes widened. Holy. I shook my head, hissing. Don't freak out. I need to process first. The truth burned in my chest. Every laugh she gave me, every touch, every whispered, trust me, all felt like lies. I wanted to confront her, but I hesitated. How? Where? What would she say? Before I could decide, Mark, a coworker of hers who occasionally stopped by for casual chats walked in. Hey, Ethan. Everything okay? You look stressed. I forced a smile. I'm fine, Mark. Just a lot on my mind. Mark studied me. You sure? Because you don't look fine. If you need to talk, I'm fine, I interrupted, almost too sharply. His concerned gaze lingered. He nodded slowly, but I knew he sensed something. Once he left, the apartment felt smaller, suffocating. I finally heard Eliza's voice at the door. Ethan, I'm back. Did you? I cut her off, my voice steady, despite the storm inside. Eliza, can we talk? Her smile faltered slightly. Of course. What's wrong? I took a deep breath. I know about Ryan, the messages, the meetings, everything. Her laugh was soft, almost musical, but it didn't reach her eyes. What messages? The ones you don't want me to see, I said quietly. The ones that prove you've been hiding things. I overheard you. I saw the phone. She tilted her head, pretending innocence. Ethan, you're imagining things. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not imagining, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I have proof. She leaned against the counter, smiling in that way that used to make my chest sore. Proof, Ethan? Are you serious? You're letting paranoia control you. Ryan and I are friends. That's all. Friends? I echoed, my hands clenched into fists. Friends don't meet secretly. Don't send coded messages. Don't hide everything. She sighed, placing a hand over her heart. Ethan, you're letting your insecurities ruin this. I love you. Everything else is nothing. I stared at her, disbelieving. The woman in front of me was the same one who laughed in my face, lied through her teeth, spun me as paranoid. I wanted to scream, to shake her, until she admitted it. But I swallowed my anger. I needed control. I need the truth, Eliza, I said slowly. No lies, no spinning it to make me look crazy. The truth. She tilted her head again, eyes wide. The truth? Ethan, you're being dramatic. There's nothing to tell. I felt my chest tighten. You're a master at pretending. I know that. But I also know the real story. And I'm not going to look away anymore. Her smile wavered just for a second. Then she recovered. Ethan, you're imagining the cracks where there are none. You're letting jealousy twist things. Ryan is just a friend. Why can't you see that? Because a friend doesn't meet at secret cafes, doesn't send hidden messages, I said, my voice rising. Don't lie to me. Eliza's expression hardened, but her tone remained calm. I'm not lying. You just don't trust me. Maybe you never did. I froze. That hit harder than anything else. She was right. I wanted to trust her. I had trusted her. And now every word, every smile felt like a betrayal. I left the room abruptly, pacing. I can't believe this. Jake, still on the couch, called out. Ethan, you okay? I'm fine, I muttered, though my voice betrayed me. Claire, who had been quiet, finally spoke. You saw it, didn't you? You saw the messages. I turned to her. Yes. I can't ignore it anymore. She's lying. Hiding something? Then don't, Claire said, her tone sharp. Figure it out. Don't let her spin it. Don't let her make you doubt yourself. I nodded. Her words helped, just slightly. But the pain, the betrayal, it sat in my chest like a weight. Later, I confronted her again, this time with more composure. Eliza, why are you lying? Why are you hiding things from me? Her eyes flickered toward the window, then back at me. I'm not lying. Ethan, sometimes the truth is complicated. You're reading it wrong? I don't think I am, I said. You can spin it all you want in public. But I know the truth in private. Her face remained serene. It's almost angelic. But I saw the flicker of panic when she realized I wasn't buying her story. Ethan, you're letting your imagination run wild. I love you. Isn't that enough? Enough, I repeated, my voice low. Enough to be lied to? Enough to be manipulated? She began, but I cut her off. I can't do this blindly anymore, I said. I can't pretend everything is okay when it isn't. You think you can hide behind charm and smiles? But I see you. She looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Ethan, calm down. You're letting anger control you. Let's just know, I said sharply. I've been calm. I've been patient. Now I need to make a choice. Either I let this slide, or I make sure you can't manipulate me anymore. Her hand hovered near mine, hesitant. Ethan, we can work this out. You're overreacting. You're making mistakes. Am I overreacting? I asked, voice trembling slightly. Because it feels like you've been plotting this for weeks. Do you even care that I trusted you? That I loved you? I do, she said softly, though it lacked conviction. I shook my head. Then why hide things? Why make me doubt every word you say? Her eyes softened, and she whispered, because sometimes the truth isn't kind, and you wouldn't understand. I laughed bitterly. I understand more than you think. I understand betrayal. I understand lies. And now I understand that I need to decide whether to act on this knowledge or let it destroy me from the inside. She reached for my hand again, desperate. Ethan, don't do anything rash. Let's talk, please. I pulled my hand back. No, Eliza. Talking won't fix this. You've already poisoned our trust. Everything else now is a consequence of your choices. She looked stunned. A mixture of hurt and anger flashing across her face. You're overreacting. You're letting paranoia win. This isn't you. I shook my head. This is me. The part that refuses to be blind anymore. The part that won't let manipulation and betrayal define my life. And right now, I have to decide revenge, exposure, or silent observation. One of these paths has to be mine. Her silence said more than words ever could. I realized then that in public, she could still appear perfect, innocent, untouchable. But in private, I held the power. I left the room, heart pounding, mind racing. I needed time. I needed clarity. And I needed a plan, because the truth was out, and nothing would ever be the same. The evening had started innocently enough. A party at Ryan's apartment, supposedly just a get-together, but I could feel the tension crawling beneath my skin. Every laugh, every glance. Every subtle gesture between Eliza and Ryan felt like a spotlight on my chest. Jake nudged me as we walked in. Relax, man. It's just a party. Drinks, music, maybe some fun. I'm fine, I muttered, though my fists tightened at my sides. I scanned the room looking for her, for any hint of the lies I already knew. Eliza appeared near the center of the room, laughing, radiant. Ryan was close, leaning just enough to brush her shoulder. My stomach twisted. I tried to tell myself to stay calm, but I couldn't. She spotted me and waved. Ethan, over here. I forced a smile and walked over. Hey, I said, voice steady. Looks like fun. It is, she said brightly, completely oblivious or pretending to be. Come meet Ryan. He's just telling everyone about that work project. I froze. Her calm, effortless charisma in front of everyone was infuriating. I could feel my heartbeat thundering. Yeah, sure, I said, voice tight as we approached. I overheard Ryan's laugh, smooth and calculated. She's been overworking herself, Ethan. You should let her relax. I know, I said, forcing casual. I just like to check in. Eliza smiled at me, radiant, hiding every crack I knew existed. He worries too much, she said to Ryan, laughing lightly. I gritted my teeth. Worries? About what? I asked, loud enough for a few people nearby to hear. Oh, nothing, she said, flashing a smile. Ethan always reads too much into things. Too much into things? I repeated louder this time, my voice trembling with anger. So, all those secret meetings, the texts, the hidden conversations, that's just me overreacting? The room went quiet for a moment. People glanced at us, curious. Eliza laughed, soft and melodic, the sound designed to diffuse suspicion. Ethan, you're being dramatic again. Really calm down, I felt heat rise in my face. Dramatic. I have proof. I know what's been going on. And you can't just smile it away. Ryan stepped closer, putting a hand on her shoulder. Ethan, maybe you should calm down. You're embarrassing yourself? You're embarrassing me? I shouted, unable to hold it back. You've been lying, hiding, manipulating. And I'm supposed to pretend it's fine? A few friends murmured, uneasy. Claire's eyes widened, but she didn't step forward. Eliza, tell him he's wrong, Ryan urged softly, his tone smooth and convincing. Eliza turned to me, eyes wide, innocence perfected. Ethan, you're imagining things. Everyone's staring now. Can't you see? You're making a scene over nothing? I glanced around. Friends shifting uncomfortably, a few raising eyebrows. I felt my throat tighten. This was exactly what I feared my words against her charm. She could spin everything, and everyone would see me as paranoid. I pressed on, trying to regain control. I'm not imagining anything. I've seen the messages. I've heard the plans. Don't try to gaslight me in front of them. Eliza's lips curved into a delicate smile. Gaslight. Ethan, this is ridiculous. You're letting jealousy and suspicion ruin everything. I clenched my fists. Jealousy? No, knowledge. I know the truth, and I'm not backing down. Kevin, Ryan's sidekick, leaned close to Ryan, whispering something. I couldn't hear it, but I could see the smirk in Kevin's eyes. They were coordinating, making me look irrational. A soft voice interrupted my spiral. Ethan. I turned to see Laura standing a few feet away, her eyes calm but sharp. You're not wrong, she said quietly. I saw him with her earlier. Something's off. I blinked, surprised. You saw? She nodded. I don't know everything, but you're not crazy. Watch carefully. Her presence grounded me slightly. At least someone noticed the cracks I had been seeing for weeks. Elise's eyes flicked to Laura. I noticed a shadow of unease cross her face. The crowd hadn't picked up on it yet, but the tiniest ripple had started. Ethan. Please, she said softly, voice dripping honey. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Just trust me, please. Trust you? I repeated. I've trusted you every day, and every day you've lied. You're perfect for them, aren't you? In front of everyone, radiant and innocent. But I know what you've done. The room murmured now. Jake stepped closer, but I shook my head. Stay out. This is between us. Eliza's smile faltered just slightly. Ethan, calm down. Seriously, you're letting paranoia take over. Think about what you're saying. I've thought about it, I said, voice steady now. And I've made my choice. I can't let you manipulate me or anyone else anymore. Your charm doesn't protect you from consequences. Not from me. Her eyes narrowed, and I realized she hadn't expected this shift. Her calm, flawless exterior was cracking just a hair. But enough. Ethan, Ryan said smoothly, maybe you should leave before this gets worse. You're making a scene. No, I said, my voice rising. I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm done pretending. Everyone else can see you for what you are soon enough. A few whispers ran through the crowd. Claire's gaze met mine, worried but supportive. Laura stayed quiet, watching, silent but present. Eliza laughed softly, trying to reclaim control. You're ridiculous. And you're hurting yourself more than anyone else. Calm down, Ethan. No, I said firmly. You're the one who's going to regret this. And I'm not doing anything rash yet. But I am watching, planning. Every move you make, every lie. I know now. Her breath caught slightly, a flicker of panic hiding behind the composed smile. Ryan's hand brushed hers subtly, as if to reassure her. I noticed Kevin whispering again, orchestrating their defense. The room had stopped murmuring. The tension was thick enough to taste. I felt every eye on us, but I no longer cared what they thought. The truth mattered more than appearances. Eliza's voice wavered for a fraction of a second. Ethan, you're going too far. Please. I'm exactly where I need to be, I repeated, letting the words land. And now I start planning. You think your charm and manipulation make you untouchable? But I've learned something. Subtlety doesn't work with someone like you. Not anymore. I turned, walking away slowly, letting the silence hang between us. Every step felt like a declaration. I could feel her eyes on my back, the heat of realization finally reaching her. Outside, I drew a deep breath. The city lights blurred through my vision, but the rage and heartbreak burned sharply. The first stage was over. Confrontation. The second stage would be strategy. Laura approached quietly. You did the right thing, she said, tone low. Not everyone would stand up like that. I nodded, voice low. Thanks. But this is just the beginning. I need a plan. Every move counted now. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She understood. I could feel it in her calm, observant presence. My silent ally, watching, supporting, without interference. I felt the weight of betrayal settle fully on my shoulders. My chest ached, and my hands trembled slightly, but I was no longer just reacting. I was ready to act. Ryan and Kevin stayed inside, their expressions tight, restrained. I knew they were recalculating, strategizing how to save her. Too late. I was ahead now. Every lie, every secret, I had seen them all. Inside the apartment, Lisa stood frozen for a moment, composed again for the room. But I knew. I knew what I had seen, and she could sense it. I left the party, heart pounding, mind spinning. The confrontation had exposed everything to me, even if no one else fully understood. I felt both exhausted and alive, the raw emotion igniting a determination I hadn't felt before. Tonight had shown me the truth, and it had shown me what I had to do next. Revenge, exposure, careful observation, whatever it took, I would reclaim control. I wouldn't be humiliated. I wouldn't be gaslit. Not again. And as I walked into the night, I made a silent vow. Every move she made from now on would be accounted for. Every lie would be returned tenfold. And I would no longer be the naive man who trusted blindly. The breaking point was here, and I was ready. I spent the next morning staring at my phone, replaying last night's confrontation in my head. Every glance, every lie, every subtle deflection was all recorded in my memory, ready to be used. But memory wasn't enough. I needed proof. Solid, undeniable proof. Jake knocked on my door mid-morning. You up for coffee? Or are you still brooding over last night? I forced a smile. Coffee sounds good. Just give me a few minutes to get ready. He raised an eyebrow. You don't look like someone who just needs a few minutes. More like a storm brewing. I suppose you could say that, I said quietly, sliding my laptop into my bag. Storm? Jake laughed. Bro, you need to calm down. It's a party. It's life. Don't let Eliza know, I interrupted, voice firm. I can't calm down. Not now. She crossed a line, and I need to make sure it doesn't happen again. Jake stared for a moment, then nodded slowly. He wasn't stupid. He could see my resolve. At the cafe, I met Sam, an old friend with a detective's instincts. Ethan, he greeted, eyes sharp. You sounded urgent on the phone. What's going on? I need your help, I said without preamble. It's Elisa. She's hiding things. Meeting people, sending messages. I can't confront her directly anymore. Only makes me look paranoid. Sam leaned back, Thoughtful. Sounds like you want to collect evidence? Subtle, but effective. Exactly, I said, feeling a spark of relief. I need proof, and I need a strategy. Something that exposes her, but doesn't backfire on me. He smiled faintly. I can help. We'll be discreet. Cameras, phone logs, observations, anything we can gather without tipping her off? Good, I said, the plan beginning to take shape. Let's start small. I need to know everything she does when she thinks no one's watching. Over the next few days, I immersed myself in subtle observation. Every text notification, every hidden glance, every hurried meeting was noted. I even planted a few small coincidences, mentions of errands she supposedly had. Hints about a friend needing her at the cafe just to see how she reacted. Jake noticed my change. You're different, he said one afternoon, watching me scroll through my notes. Calculating cold. Like you're becoming her. I laughed without humor. Maybe I am. But I'd rather be cold and aware than naive and blindsided. Claire appeared later, glancing at my laptop. You're tracking her? She asked, a little shocked. Yes, I admitted. She made me see that trust isn't guaranteed. I need to protect myself. Claire nodded, understanding but wary. Just don't lose yourself in this. Revenge can eat you alive. I'll be careful, I said. Though a part of me wondered if I already had crossed the line. The first small victory came when Ryan, usually composed, slipped in his conversation with Kevin. I overheard the two of them talking in the hallway. Ethan is getting suspicious, Kevin said. We need to adjust. Make sure he doesn't find out before it's too late. Ryan's laugh was tense. Relax. He can't see the bigger picture. We're fine. I froze in the shadows, recording everything mentally. Every word they didn't want me to hear was fuel for my plan. That evening, Eliza returned from an errand, unaware I had seen her hurriedly delete texts. I confronted her casually. Hey, I said lightly. Busy day? Yes, she replied, masking the panic I could see in her eyes. Just errands? Errands? I echoed, pretending curiosity. You seemed flustered on the phone earlier. Everything okay? She smiled, effortless. Of course. Just a little rushed. I studied her closely, voice soft. Funny it didn't seem like a normal errand. She laughed lightly. Ethan, you worry too much. Honestly, you need to relax. I let it drop for now. Subtlety was key. She didn't suspect that I already knew the truth and that I was laying the groundwork for consequences she couldn't avoid. The following day I met Sam again. We need to connect dots, I said. Patterns, timing, interactions, everything. He nodded, pulling out a small notebook. I've been tracking her movements discreetly. Times, locations, contacts. If we compile it, it will form a clear picture. I leaned over his notes, scanning. Perfect. The more we know, the more leverage we have. Not to destroy her, but to make sure she can't manipulate anyone, including me. Sam raised an eyebrow. You're walking a fine line, Ethan. You're becoming strategic. Yes. But make sure you don't lose yourself in this process. Emotions can cloud judgment. I know, I said quietly. But I also know what I'm capable of if she continues to lie. The first subtle impact of my plan showed itself at a small gathering of friends. I casually mentioned a supposed meeting Ryan had planned that didn't exist. Eliza's reaction was almost imperceptible, but enough for me to notice. Ethan, what are you talking about? She asked, voice carefully light. Oh, just something I heard, I said with a smile. I suppose I misheard. Her hands twitched slightly. Ryan gave her a quick glance. The cracks were appearing. Later, Laura caught my eye across the room. She raised her hand subtly, a silent acknowledgement. I wasn't alone. Someone noticed. Someone understood. That gave me a strange sense of reassurance. But the emotional conflict was real. Every move I made against her was a tiny betrayal of my own character. Was I becoming like her, calculating, cold, manipulative? Each success brought a pang of guilt. One evening I confronted her more directly at home, feigning casual curiosity. Busy day? I asked, watching her closely. Yes, she said, avoiding my gaze. Meeting someone? I pressed gently. Her lips twitched. Maybe. I repeated, soft but firm. You seem very careful about who knows. She sighed, a small human flicker breaking through the mask. I didn't mean for it to be like this. I wanted to protect you from things you wouldn't understand. I froze. Protect me? She nodded, voice barely above a whisper. From myself, from complications. Sometimes the truth isn't simple. Ethan, you wouldn't see it the way I do. I felt the tiniest flicker of empathy, confusing me. So much anger, yet here was a hint of vulnerability. I see, I said carefully, hiding my emotional reaction. But protection doesn't mean hiding. It doesn't mean lying, I know, she whispered. But it felt like the only way. The next few days, I continued my plan, blending observation with subtle manipulation. Friends at events began to notice inconsistencies in her story. A small comment here, a misaligned schedule there. Nothing that exposed her completely yet, but the seeds of doubt were planted. Ryan began looking more tense around me. Kevin's smirk faded when I entered a room unexpectedly. Every small shift reinforced that my strategy was working. Yet internally I wrestled with myself. Each calculated move, each planted seed, made me feel darker. Was I still Ethan, the man who loved deeply, or someone else, shaped by betrayal? Sam met me again. You're doing well, he said, but watch yourself. People like her are dangerous, but people like you could lose yourself in this game. I know, I said quietly, but I can't ignore it anymore. I've seen too much, and I've felt too much. I need to stay ahead. He nodded, understanding. Then stay sharp. Collect evidence. Be precise. And always remember why you started. The final twist of the week came unexpectedly. I overheard Eliza talking to herself, her tone low and almost guilty. I never wanted to hurt him, she whispered. I didn't know how else to protect him. He wouldn't understand. He'd only see betrayal. I paused, hidden in the doorway. Her voice softened, humanizing her in a way that made my chest ache. For the first time, I saw that beneath the manipulation and lies, she had motives shaped by fear and misguided protection. It didn't excuse her actions, but it complicated my emotions. Rage mixed with a strange sense of pity. Anger blended with understanding. My plan remained, but now my strategy had a new layer. I had to account for her fear and vulnerability. It's not just her deception. Later that night, I called Sam. We need to adjust, I said. She's more complex than I thought. She's human in her own way. Sam chuckled softly. Welcome to reality, Ethan. People aren't just villains or victims. Just remember why you started, I will, I said. But this is becoming a chess game. Every move, every emotion, every observation matters. And I can't afford mistakes. As I prepared for the coming days, I realized something fundamental. Subtlety had begun to work. Minor setbacks for her, small seeds of doubt. Careful planning had shifted power slightly into my hands. Yet the internal conflict lingered. Was I becoming like her? Or was I simply surviving in a world she had already corrupted? Either way, the plan was in motion, and nothing would stop me from seeing it through. The tension in the office was palpable the moment I walked in. I could feel it: glances, hushed whispers, the subtle shift of alliances. Ryan was pacing near the coffee machine, Kevin hovering close, both pretending calm while I knew they were scrambling. Jake nudged me, whispering, "Dude, everyone's looking at you differently today. You okay?" I nodded slowly, masking my satisfaction. Better than okay. Just observing. Claire appeared beside me, lowering her voice. "Ethan, it's working. People are noticing her inconsistencies. Subtle, but effective." I allowed a small smile. That's the point. We keep it subtle. Let her unravel on her own. My phone buzzed. A notification from Sam. Check the conference room at 2 p.m. I pocketed the phone and continued walking. Eliza was at her desk, typing rapidly, pretending everything was normal. But I could see the tension behind her smile. The phone in her hand, the occasional glance at the screen, she knew the game was shifting. I approached casually. "Eliza, got a moment?" She looked up, sweet and composed. "Of course, Ethan. What's on your mind?" "Nothing urgent," I said, tone light. But I noticed some discrepancies in the project schedule. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Discrepancies?" "Yes," I said, leaning slightly closer. Deadlines shifted, messages not aligning with meetings, small things, but noticeable. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. I must have miscommunicated something. It's nothing serious." I studied her face, voice calm. Miscommunication happens. But repeated patterns, it raises questions, doesn't it? She laughed softly, a little too sharp. "Ethan, you always overanalyze. People make mistakes. You know that?" "I do," I said quietly, letting my words linger. "But when patterns repeat, it's hard not to wonder about intent." Her eyes darted briefly to Ryan, who was trying to appear busy but couldn't hide the panic. Kevin lingered near the printer, pretending to sort papers. But I saw the tension radiating off him. The first crack appeared during the afternoon meeting. I had casually forwarded a chain of messages to a few colleagues, including Laura, that highlighted subtle contradictions in her statements. Nothing dramatic, just small enough to sow doubt. "Eliza," I said, feigning casual interest, "can you clarify these dates?" "The clients mentioned different times than we recorded." She glanced at the papers I slid across the table. Her breath hitched slightly. "Oh, those I must have misremembered." "My apologies." One colleague, mid-20s, raised an eyebrow. That's unusual." I smiled faintly, keeping my tone light. "It happens. Just want to make sure we're all aligned." Ryan leaned forward. "Yes, alignment is important. Ethan, maybe you're reading too much into this?" I met his gaze steadily. "Maybe, but I prefer clarity over assumptions." The subtle shift was immediate. People started noticing the small inconsistencies, whispering, asking questions. Eliza's carefully constructed image began to wobble. Later, I found a note left on my desk. "Be careful. Don't push too far." No signature. I knew immediately. "Evan," I pocketed it, a smile forming. Minor threats wouldn't sway me. This was just the beginning. At home that evening, I stared at the empty wineglass in my hand. Memories of last week's confrontations swirling in my mind. I could feel the satisfaction of progress, but it was tinged with guilt. Was I becoming her? Calculating, strategic, cold. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Laura standing there. "Thought you might want some company," she said, voice quiet. I gestured inside. "Thanks. I could use a friend tonight." We sat in silence for a moment. "Ethan, you're handling this well," she said finally. "But are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, though my voice betrayed the tension. "Better than fine?" I'm nodded. "You'll feel guilty." "But she created this mess. You're just responding strategically." "I know," I said, but I couldn't shake the feeling of duality inside me. Every move I made, every subtle exposure, made me feel sharper, smarter, and colder. The next morning, the first public consequence unfolded. Eliza's carefully maintained friendships started cracking. One colleague openly questioned her motives during a team lunch. Another friend hesitated, asking for clarification about plans she had made. I watched from across the room, outwardly calm, internally calculating. Each ripple of doubt was a victory. Not for revenge alone, but for reclaiming control of a life she had tried to manipulate. Ryan's panic was visible now. He cornered her briefly in the hallway. "You can't keep this up. Ethan's onto us." "I know," she whispered, voice trembling. I didn't anticipate him being so determined. Kevin lingered near the copier, muttering something under his breath. They were scrambling, and it felt like a private triumph. A symbolic moment hit me later. I found a small bracelet she had left on my desk, gift I had given her months ago. I held it, feeling a mixture of sadness and betrayal. The trust it symbolized was gone, placed by knowledge and strategy. "Eliza left this," I murmured, twirling it between my fingers. All the things I believed shattered, double quotes. Laura, who had come by unexpectedly, noticed. It's painful, isn't it? It is, I admitted. But it's also motivation. A reminder of what I've lost and what I need to do to reclaim myself. By evening, I began organizing evidence, messages, and observations. Sam had helped me structure it logically, making the pattern of deception unmistakable. Each item confirmed her lies, her manipulations, her calculated charm. The internal conflict persisted. Each proof gathered, each subtle move to shift perception, made me feel distant from the man I used to be. But I reminded myself, survival required strategy. And justice, my justice, required precision. Eliza didn't suspect the full scope of my plan yet. Ryan and Kevin's desperation grew daily, each misstep by them feeding my progress. Small setbacks for her. Public cracks in her social armor. My plan was working, yet I couldn't ignore the human side I had glimpsed earlier. Her whispered admission, her fleeting vulnerability, it complicated my satisfaction. Rage mingled with pity, anger blended with a strange understanding. She was flawed, misguided, scared, and still capable of charm. The day ended with another symbolic moment. A message from Ryan accidentally forwarded to me instead of Kevin. We can't control him. He's smarter than we thought. Eliza might crack if he pushes. I read it slowly, savoring the confirmation that my strategy was working, that the power balance was shifting. But the moral weight pressed down this was manipulation. Even if justified, I whispered to myself, holding the note. Karma is approaching. Slowly, but it's coming. The final moment of the day came during a small gathering at a cafe. Eliza arrived smiling at friends, radiant and flawless outwardly, but I noticed the subtle falters. She flinched when I casually mentioned Ryan's schedule, hesitated when questioned about her own plans. Laura was nearby, eyes meeting mine. A silent acknowledgement passed between us. The seeds of doubt had taken root. People were questioning, noticing, feeling the instability I had orchestrated. Ryan's panic was visible even in the crowded cafe. Kevin's smirk had disappeared. Their plan was unraveling subtly, but undeniably. Eliza sat across from me, composed, still trying to charm the room. But I knew. I knew the truth, and now so did a few others. I felt a strange mixture of emotions, satisfaction, guilt, sadness. Each small victory was a reminder of betrayal, of manipulation, of trust lost. But it also reminded me how far I had come, how much control I had regained, as I watched her laugh lightly at a comment someone made. I realized that revenge wasn't just about punishment. It was transformation. Strategy, patience, observation, it had reshaped me. I was no longer naive. I was alert, calculating but not heartless. I could feel my strength, my clarity, even amid emotional conflict. And yet the final confrontation loomed. The subtle unraveling of her lies was only the prelude. The ultimate truth, the exposure that would either end this quietly or erupt publicly, was approaching. I clenched my fists, feeling the weight of everything: the bracelet, the messages, the whispered admissions, the carefully orchestrated evidence. Karma was approaching, and soon everything would come to light. I told myself to stay calm, but my hand shook as I held the folder. All the messages, screenshots, and timelines carefully compiled. Irrefutable proof. Every lie she had told, every hidden meeting, every calculated manipulation, it was all here. I waited until the apartment was empty, except for Eliza. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, completely unaware. "Eliza," I said, voice steady but low. She looked up, smiling softly. "Ethan, I wasn't expecting you. Everything okay?" "Yes," I said, placing the folder on the table. "We need to talk." Her smile didn't falter, but I noticed a micro-expression, an almost imperceptible flicker of unease. "I'm listening," she said. I opened the folder and laid out the evidence carefully. Screenshots of messages with Ryan, text conversations she had deleted, timestamps of secret meetings. Everything was organized logically, Do you see this? I asked, keeping my voice even. Every lie. Every manipulation. Every time you tried to make me look paranoid. You were planning this behind my back. Her hands froze on her lap. Ethan, I can explain. I shook my head slightly. Explain. Or manipulate. I've heard enough excuses. Look at this. Dates, times, messages. You can't spin these. She swallowed, eyes flicking nervously to the folder. You're being dramatic. These are just small things. Misunderstandings. Misunderstandings. I repeated, voice rising slightly. Every single one? The hidden texts, the secret meetings with Ryan, the way you smiled at me while lying, that's not misunderstanding. It's Liza, that's betrayal. She looked down, biting her lip. I didn't want to hurt you. I wanted to protect us. Protect you. You wouldn't understand? I wouldn't understand. I laughed bitterly. Protect me by lying, manipulating, and hiding. Do you know how that feels? Every day. Wondering if the woman I love is playing me? Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. I thought I was doing the right thing. I never wanted this. I felt the tiniest flicker of pity, but it didn't soften my resolve. I'm not here to hear excuses. I'm here to confront reality. And this, I tapped the folder, is reality. You've tried to build a perfect facade. But the cracks are everywhere. She swallowed hard, then glanced toward the door as if expecting Ryan to appear. Ethan, we can fix this. We can talk it out. No, I said firmly, voice shaking with controlled emotion. This isn't about talking anymore. This is about accountability. For every lie, every hidden word, every manipulation, you face the consequences. The air was thick. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat, every muscle tense, every nerve alive suddenly. Ryan stormed in, face pale, eyes darting between us. Ethan, what are you doing? This isn't the time, not here. I didn't flinch. Time. This is the time. And this is the place. Look at what she's done. You were part of it, Ryan. Don't act innocent. He took a step closer, voice low but sharp. You don't understand. There are things you can't see. You're overreacting. Overreacting. I snapped. I've documented everything. You've manipulated, colluded, and tried to gaslight me for months. And you expect me to believe you're innocent now? Eliza stood, stepping in front of Ryan. Ethan, please. Don't what? I shouted, voice breaking slightly. Stop lying? Stop protecting him with your manipulations. I've heard enough. Ryan's expression darkened. You're crossing a line, Ethan. This is private. You can't just... I can and I will, I interrupted, pointing to the folder. Everything here is private until it's exposed. You've forced my hand. And now, there's no turning back. Eliza's eyes widened, glancing at Ryan. Ethan, think about what you're doing. You're destroying everything. Don't let anger, I said, voice low and cutting. It's not just anger. It's clarity. It's finally seeing the truth. And I can't ignore it anymore. She flinched as I laid out a few pages of messages on the coffee table. The proof was undeniable. Ryan's complicity was clear. Every manipulation, every hidden agenda, every calculated step, they all converged into this moment. Ethan, please, she whispered. Don't ruin us. Don't do this in anger. I'm not doing this in anger, I said. I'm doing it in reality. I'm doing it because I deserve honesty, not charm, masked as sweetness. Because I deserve respect, not manipulation. Her hands trembled slightly. And for the first time, I saw her facade crack. The confident, untouchable woman I had once adored was vulnerable, almost childlike. Ryan stepped forward, voice sharp. Stop, Ethan. You don't know what you're doing. You're being manipulated by your emotions. Don't I cut him off? Manipulated. No. I've observed, calculated, and gathered evidence. I know exactly what's happening. And I know exactly what she's done. You think you can intimidate me? You're too late. Eliza covered her face, tears spilling down. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I was protecting everything. I thought you'd never see it. I see it, I said softly, voice trembling with the weight of emotion. I've seen it all. And now I have to decide what comes next. Justice, exposure, revenge. All of it is on the table. Ryan's face contorted with anger. You're going too far. This isn't what we agreed on. She didn't want this. Agreed on? I laughed bitterly. Ryan, she lied to me every day, and you helped her. Don't pretend this was accidental, Kevin, who had somehow appeared behind Ryan, muttered something, but I ignored him. My focus was on the woman I had loved, the truths I had uncovered, and the storm we had created. Eliza dropped to the couch, burying her face in her hands. Ethan, I can't. Yes, you can, I said gently, though my chest ached. You can face the consequences. You can take responsibility, or you can continue pretending. But the truth, it doesn't care about pretending. She lifted her head slightly, eyes red-rimmed, vulnerable. I didn't think you'd ever see it this way. I thought my intentions, my reasons, you wouldn't understand. I understand enough, I said, voice quiet but firm. I understand that trust is fragile, that lies destroy, and that consequences are unavoidable. I also understand that I can't let this go without resolution. Not for myself, not for anyone you've manipulated. Her body trembled. You're stronger than I imagined. I underestimated you, and I underestimated you, I said softly, almost whispering. But I can't let that happen again. Ryan stepped closer, voice trembling with urgency. Ethan, don't do this. Think about the fallout, friends. Careers, I've thought about it, I said. And I've decided. The proof doesn't lie. The truth doesn't bend. And I won't be manipulated, not by charm, not by fear, not by excuses. Eliza's final attempt came as she stood, voice wavering but seductive. Ethan, you love me. You know I love you. Don't throw everything away. Don't let this ruin us, please. I stared at her. Every emotion inside me, clashing, love, heartbreak, rage, pity. I loved the version of you I thought I knew, I said quietly. But love without truth is just illusion. And illusions I can't live in anymore. Her tears fell freely now, raw and unrestrained. Ryan's fists clenched at his sides, powerless against the folder, against the proof, against me. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This isn't just about revenge. It's about clarity, justice, my own transformation. I've learned, Eliza. I've changed. And this is the reckoning. She sank back onto the couch, exhausted, broken. Ethan, what will you do now? I closed the folder slowly, deliberately. Now, I move forward. You face the truth. And I reclaim what you tried to steal from me, my peace, my control, my life. Ryan made a last step forward. I raised a hand. Stay back. This is between us. You've already lost your advantage. Silence hung in the room, heavy and final. Every word had landed. Every truth exposed. Every mask cracked. For the first time in months, I felt a strange calm. Heartbroken, yes. Angry, yes. But also empowered. The confrontation was over. The storm had passed, leaving me standing in the ruins, stronger and clearer than before. And I knew, deep down, this was only the beginning of the final resolution, but I was ready. The morning sunlight felt strange as it filtered through my apartment. Quiet, peaceful. A stark contrast to the chaos of the last few weeks. I made coffee, hands still trembling slightly, though the tension had eased. For the first time in months, I could breathe without calculation, gnawing at me. The phone buzzed. Laura, morning, she said, voice soft. You're up early, yeah? I admitted, pouring my coffee. Couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts. I get that, she said. But you did it, Ethan. You exposed her. You set things right. I sipped my coffee, staring at the dark liquid as if it held answers. Set things right, maybe, but it didn't feel clean. Not really. It was messy, painful. That's life, Laura said gently. Messy, painful, but necessary. You didn't start it? You just finished it. I let her words linger. I keep thinking about her face when she realized it was over. That crack in her mask, I felt something. Guilt, maybe, but also relief. I can finally move forward. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Sam standing there, laptop bag slung over his shoulder. Morning. Thought you'd want to see the aftermath from a technical perspective, he said, voice dry but supportive. I raised an eyebrow. Technical perspective? Sam smirked. Emails, messages, logs, everything. Ryan's role? Exposed. Eliza's lies? Publicly verified. Your friends, colleagues, they know the truth now. No more hidden agendas. I felt a rush of satisfaction, tempered by exhaustion. So it's over? For now, Sam said. But your strategy worked. Perfectly executed. You stayed calm, collected, while letting evidence do the talking. That's rare. I let the praise wash over me. It meant a lot to have your help. Sam shrugged, leaning against the doorframe. You'd have done it anyway. I just made it easier. Later, I met Claire and Laura at the cafe near my apartment. The moment we sat, I felt a weight lift. Friends who had once doubted me now offered quiet support. Nods of recognition, reassurance. People are starting to understand, Claire said, stirring her tea. They see what really happened. You didn't just accuse her, you proved it. I never wanted to accuse, I admitted, voice low. I wanted clarity, truth, and to reclaim what I lost. Laura reached over, placing her hand lightly on mine. You did that? And you stayed human. Strategic, yes, but human. A small smile formed. Human, huh? Sometimes I wonder if I've become like her, calculating, cold planning every move. You're not her, Claire said firmly. You're just learning from her mistakes, using strategy to protect yourself, not manipulate others. I nodded, though the reminder stung slightly. The line between justice and revenge had blurred. I had felt it during the confrontation, felt it when gathering evidence, felt it when watching her unravel. But reflection brought clarity. I had acted not out of hatred alone, but necessity. My phone buzzed again. Message from Jake. Heard about the fallout. Proud of you, man. Drinks tonight? I smiled despite myself. Yeah, drinks sound good. The rest of the day passed in a strange calm. Emails and messages confirming Ryan's involvement came in, creating subtle waves in social and professional circles. People distanced themselves from his manipulations. Eliza's credibility, once flawless, was now fractured. Her social invitations dwindled. Those who had admired her charm now questioned her motives. Karma, slow and deliberate, had begun. Late afternoon. Found myself walking past the park where I and Eliza had spent countless afternoons. Memories flooded back. Laughs, casual conversations, the comfort of her presence. Now, it was a quiet reminder of betrayal and growth. Laura appeared beside me, walking silently. Thinking, I nodded. About her, about us, about what I've learned. It hurts, but it also teaches. Betrayal isn't just about them. It's about us too. How we respond, how we survive. She smiled faintly. Exactly, and you've survived. Stronger than before? Clearer, I exhaled, feeling the last remnants of anger ebb slightly. I keep thinking about the lessons. Trust, boundaries, knowing who to believe, when to act. I've lost illusions, but gained clarity. She placed her hand on my shoulder. That's growth. Painful, but real. Even as I spoke, my phone buzzed again, messages from colleagues confirming that Eliza and Ryan had lost influence. One message simply read, "People finally see the truth. Thanks for showing them." I stared at the screen. Satisfaction, yes, but it was tempered by sadness. The woman I had loved, the relationship I had hoped to build, gone, burned, irretrievable. Still, progress felt good. For the first time in months, I didn't feel manipulated, uncertain, or powerless. That evening, Jake joined me for drinks. "So, it's officially over," he said, raising his glass. "Officially," I confirmed, clinking my glass against his. "No loose ends. Clear conscience." "Well, as clear as it gets. You look lighter," Jake said, taking a sip. "Like you've been carrying a ton and finally put it down." I laughed softly. "I have, but the weight doesn't disappear overnight. You just learn to carry it differently. More wisely," he nodded. "And the revenge part? Satisfying?" I smirked. "Satisfying, but not sweet. More necessary? A lesson for her, a lesson for me. Justice in motion." Jake tilted his head. "You've changed. Not just stronger, different. Smarter, too." "Yeah," I admitted. "Different. And I like it, mostly. But it comes with reflection, with remembering what trust is worth, what manipulation can destroy, and how easily we forget to see people for who they really are." Laura's words echoed in my mind. "You're human." Strategic, yes, but human. That balance between reason and emotion, clarity and empathy, felt like the real victory. The week passed with slow adjustments. Eliza tried reaching out to mutual friends, but most had already seen through the cracks. Ryan faced scrutiny at work, and Kevin quietly disappeared from my periphery. Life began to stabilize, socially and emotionally. I spent hours reviewing my own reactions, my moral boundaries, the lines I had drawn. I realized revenge had not changed who I was at my core. It had sharpened me, clarified priorities, and strengthened resolve. Late one night, I sat alone, flipping through photos from happier times. One caught my eye, Eliza laughing, radiant. I traced her face with my finger, a pang of nostalgia and loss striking me. "I loved you," I whispered to the empty room. "I still do in the memory of what was real. But that version of us is gone, and I have to accept that." The next morning, I met with Laura and Claire for brunch. "Plans for the weekend?" Claire asked casually. "Rebuilding," I said, smiling. "Life, priorities, myself. Friends, family, setting boundaries. Things I ignored before." Laura laughed softly. "Sounds healthy?" "It is," I admitted. "It's grounding, and it's freeing. I'm done pretending, done tolerating manipulation, done living in illusions. I know now how to protect myself and others." We talked, laughed, reflected, and for the first time in months, I felt genuine closure. No scheming, no confrontation, no hidden truths, just clarity. As I walked home later, I realized something profound. Betrayal, anger, and revenge had brought me here not to bitterness, but to understanding. I had lost illusions, yes, but gained insight. Trust had been fractured, but wisdom had formed in its place. Passing the park again, I paused. The benches where we had sat, the trees we had walked beneath, they were just scenery now. Memories lingered, but they no longer held power over me. I smiled faintly, letting go of the past, accepting the lessons, bracing the growth. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a quiet satisfaction, not of revenge, but of resilience. The storm had passed. Karma had played its hand, and I had survived, wiser and stronger. The morning light hit my apartment differently today, softer, calmer. I felt a strange sense of peace, as if the weight I had carried for months had finally shifted. I brewed coffee slowly, savoring the routine one I hadn't been able to enjoy for a long time. The phone buzzed. It was Jake. "Ethan," he said, voice cheerful. "How's the world's smartest man today?" I chuckled softly.
Not sure about that, but I'm doing better."
Slowly finding my footing. "Good, listen, you've earned it, man." "Drinks tonight?" "Yeah," I said, smiling genuinely. "Let's make it happen." After hanging up, I leaned against the counter, reflecting on the last few weeks. Betrayal, confrontation, exposure, aftermath. It all seemed like a lifetime compressed into days. My emotions had been a whirlwind. Anger, heartbreak, regret, satisfaction, and finally, clarity. The doorbell rang. Laura? She stepped inside, carrying a bag of groceries. Morning, she said lightly. I thought you could use a friend. In food, I laughed. You always know the right time. Come in. She set the groceries down and smiled. You look lighter. Maybe I am, I admitted. Or at least not carrying the same weight. Laura sat down across from me, watching me carefully. You've come a long way, Ethan. Emotionally, strategically, morally. Not everyone can survive betrayal and come out human on the other side. Human, I repeated, letting the word linger. Strange. I thought I'd feel victorious, maybe harshly satisfied. But what I feel now is balance. Not revenge, not bitterness. Just perspective. Perspective is powerful, Laura said softly. It lets you rebuild instead of repeating the past. I nodded, thinking about Eliza, Ryan, Kevin, the chaos that had surrounded me. I don't hate her. Not fully. I hated what she did, the betrayal, the lies, but the person I loved, the version I believed in, that's gone. I can't hate a memory. Laura smiled faintly. That's maturity. Painful, but real. Later, I met Claire at a park near the cafe. The autumn breeze was crisp, and leaves crunched underfoot. You seem at peace, she observed. I am, I said slowly. I've reconciled with what happened, with what I lost, and with who I am now. That doesn't erase pain, but it gives me room to grow. Claire nodded. People underestimate the strength it takes to forgive, or at least accept reality. I'm not sure it's forgiveness, I said. Maybe it's just understanding limits, knowing I can't control others, only myself. That's the real power, she smiled. Wise words. And necessary. That evening I met Jake at our favorite bar. He clapped me on the back. So, the Fiancé saga is officially closed? I laughed, sipping my drink. Closed and documented. Lessons learned. Boundaries enforced. Personal growth achieved. Sounds like you've leveled up in life, he said, grinning. Emotionally, strategically, everything. I shrugged, smiling faintly. I've leveled up, yes. But it wasn't just about victory. It was about surviving, understanding myself, and reclaiming my life. And that takes more than just proving someone wrong. Jake nodded, raising his glass. To survival, growth, and karma served cold, but just right. I clinked my glass against his, laughing. Exactly. Walking home, I felt the cool night air brush my face. Stars were scattered across the sky, distant but constant. I thought about everything. The confrontation, the aftermath, the quiet moments of reflection. Every interaction. Every choice had led me here stronger, clearer, and aware of who I truly was. Laura's words came to me again. You're human. Strategic, yes, but human. I realized that was the real triumph. Not exposing lies, not enacting revenge, but retaining my humanity despite everything. A message buzzed on my phone. It was from Sophie, the friend who had unknowingly hinted at Eliza's betrayal months ago. Hey, Ethan, just wanted to say I'm glad things worked out. You handled it better than anyone could have. I smiled, fingers hovering over the reply button. Thanks. It was a journey, but I learned a lot, more than I thought I would. The next morning, I sat at my desk, organizing my life. Emails, messages, personal plans all ordered, all intentional. Boundaries were clearer now, relationships healthier, priorities aligned. It was quiet but powerful in its simplicity. Jake called again, joking about another night out. I laughed. Yeah, we'll celebrate life, not revenge this time. Good, he said. I like the sound of that. Later, I received a text from Mark, the coworker who had quietly noticed tension months ago. Proud of how you handled everything. Lessons for all of us. I typed back simply. Thanks, Mark. I hope it helps others recognize truth, boundaries, and the importance of self-respect. Walking through the city streets, I thought about how betrayal had forced me to confront not only Eliza and Ryan, but also my own weaknesses, naivety, blind trust, and hesitation. I had learned to be observant, cautious, and self-assured. Reaching the park where I had confronted so many memories, I paused at a bench. The sunlight filtered through autumn leaves, golden and warm. I closed my eyes, remembering laughter, love, manipulation, heartbreak. Each memory was a teacher, each moment a lesson. A gentle voice called my name. It was Laura, walking toward me with coffee in hand. "Hey," she said softly. "Mind if I join you?" "Not at all," I said, smiling. I could use the company. We sat quietly, sipping coffee, letting the world move around us. The peace wasn't loud or triumphant. It was subtle, like a steady heartbeat after a storm. "I'm glad you're here," I said after a long pause. "Not just physically, but in this journey. Your support made a difference." Laura shrugged, smiling. "You did the hard part. Just reminded you who you are, what you deserve." Her words settled in me. I realized the final truth of my journey. Closure wasn't about revenge, evidence, or exposure. It was about reclaiming myself, my dignity, and my emotional freedom. We sat longer, sharing stories, laughter, and quiet reflection. The past no longer held power over MIT was a teacher, not a captor. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, I felt a calm certainty. I had faced betrayal, confronted lies, endured manipulation, and witnessed consequences. I had survived, learned, and transformed. The streets glowed with lights. People moved about their lives, unaware of the inner battles that had unfolded. I smiled faintly. Life moved forward, and so would I. Later that evening, I sat on my balcony, looking at the city. Memories of Eliza flickered, but they no longer ached. I traced her face in my mind, acknowledging what once was, without letting it dominate me. A gentle breeze brushed my cheek, and I whispered quietly, almost to myself, "I am stronger now, wiser, whole." And in that moment I understood something profound. Closure wasn't a destination. It was a state of being, accepting the past, embracing growth, and moving forward with clarity and respect for myself and others. I took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill my lungs, and smiled faintly. The journey had ended, but my life was just beginning. Hope lingered, not as naive optimism, but as a realistic, grounded belief that I could face whatever came next with the wisdom and strength I had earned. For the first time in months, I truly felt free.